In this video, we're going to explore HTML file paths. You will understand how to link various resources effectively in your web projects. We will look at relative paths, which reference files with respect to the current document's location, and absolute paths, which reference files using their complete uniform resource locator, or URL or root relative location. So let's dive in and get started. Let's understand why file paths are so important. File paths essentially tell the browser where to find all the linked resources that make up your web page. These resources include images, cascading style sheets or CSS style sheets, JavaScript files, other hypertext markup language or HTML pages, and media files like audio and video. To effectively use file paths, it's helpful to visualize your project structure. As you can see on the right, in this example we have a website folder. Inside it, there is an index.html file, an images folder containing logo.png and banner.jpg, a CSS folder with style.css, and a pages folder containing about.html. Having a structure like this makes it easier to reference files using correct paths. Let's delve into relative file paths. Relative paths specify the location of a file relative to the current document. These paths do not include the domain name, making them ideal for local development and scenarios where your website structure remains consistent. Let's look at the examples. If your file is in the same directory, you can directly reference it by name. The code snippets provided illustrate how to link images, other HTML pages, and style sheets located in the same folder. On the other hand, if the file is in a child directory, you need to specify the folder name followed by a /, and then the file name, allowing you to include resources from subfolders. Now let's look at the examples of relative paths. Here's an important concept: navigating to a parent directory. You can use / to move up one level in the directory structure. So, for example, if you're in pages/about.html and want to link to index.html, you use /index.html. Similarly, to link to style.css from the same about.html file, you would use /css/style.css. When dealing with multiple levels of nested folders, you can use multiple / sequences to go up multiple levels. For instance, if you're in pages/products/item.html and want to link to index.html, you'd use /index.html. Similarly, to link to images/logo.png from the same item.html file, you would use /images/logo.png. Let's switch gears and discuss absolute file paths. Absolute paths provide the full uniform resource locator, or URL, to a resource. This includes the protocol, which is either HTTP or HTTPS, the domain name, and the complete path to the file. The advantage of absolute paths is that they work regardless of the location of the current document. Now let's see an example of using full uniform resource locators, or URLs. When linking to resources on external websites, you will use the full uniform resource locator, or URL, including HTTPS. For example, to include an image from another site, you would use imgsrc equals https://example.com/images/logo.png. Alternatively, you can also use root relative paths, which start from the site's root directory. These paths begin with a /, followed by the path to the file. For instance, imgsrc equals /images/banner.jpg links to a banner image from the root, regardless of the current file's location. Now let's compare relative and absolute paths based on various criteria. Starting with portability, relative paths are highly portable. They work seamlessly when you move your entire website structure from one location to another. Absolute paths, on the other hand, are less portable. If your domain name changes, you'll need to update all your absolute paths. In terms of reliability, relative paths can break if you change your file structure without updating the paths accordingly. Absolute paths are more reliable because they are not affected by file movements within your site. When it comes to development, relative paths work well for local development environments without needing a local server. Absolute paths may require a local server setup, especially if you're linking to external resources. Maintenance-wise, relative paths are easier to maintain for internal resources because they automatically adjust to changes within the site structure. Absolute paths are better suited for external resources and linking across different domains. In summary, relative paths are best for internal site resources and local development, while absolute paths are ideal for external resources and linking across domains. Let's go over the best practices and common mistakes to avoid. First, be consistent with your path style throughout your entire project. It will help in avoiding confusion and errors. Secondly, use relative paths for internal resources. They enhance portability and simplify maintenance. Use absolute paths for external resources, ensuring that they remain accessible regardless of your site structure. Organize your files in a logical folder structure. A well-organized structure makes path management much easier. Always test all the links before deploying your website to catch any broken links or incorrect paths. Common mistakes to avoid: mixing backslashes and forward slashes in your paths. Always use forward slashes, as they are universally accepted in web development. Pay attention to the number of forward slash in relative paths. An incorrect number can lead to broken links. Ensure you include the leading slash in root relative paths, as it signifies that the path starts from the root directory. Be mindful of case sensitivity, especially on Linux servers. Image.jpg is different from image.jpg. Avoid using spaces in file names and paths. Spaces can cause issues with some servers and browsers. Use hyphens or underscores instead. To summarize what we've covered in this video, here are the key takeaways. Relative paths are best suited for internal resources and when portability is a concern. Absolute paths offer greater reliability, especially when linking to external resources. Proper file organization is crucial for simplifying path management and preventing errors. So, when should you use each type? Use relative paths for resources within your website, such as images, style sheets, and other HTML pages. Use absolute paths when linking to external resources or when linking across different domains. For further learning, explore the resources such as the Hypertext Markup Language or HTML file paths documentation on Mozilla Developer Network or MDN Web Docs, the HTML file paths guide on W3 Schools, the Asset Management Guidelines on web.dev, and the comprehensive overview of Uniform Resource Locators, or URLs, on CSS Tricks. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.